Hello everyone, so here I'm going to continue with the previous chapter, which was multiplexing technique, which we started in the previous class, and we are going to continue with this. In the previous class we discussed two types of multiplexing techniques, which are frequency division multiplexing and time division multiplexing. We finished with the frequency division multiplexing and we started with the time division multiplexing. So continuing with the time division multiplexing, we finished until the conceptual view of the TDM. How is the conceptual view of the TDM? So continuing with this, let's go ahead. Now in case of time division multiplexing, a frame consists of one complete cycle of time slots. So as discussed before, each of the user has a time slot to send its frame. Now for example, let's discuss over here. For example, in the time t1, a1 has the frame to send, so a1 will send the frame. Now user B does not have any frame to send, but it will be given its time. This is synchronous division multiplexing. So even if a user does not have a frame to send, but there will be a time slot allocated to that user in the frame. Now at time t is equals to 3, C has a frame to send, so C has a packet to send. So now the frame will be a1 and the next it will be empty and the C1. So this is the first frame from 3 users. Now at time t is equals to 4, A has second frame to send, it will send the second frame. B has another frame to send. C does not have any frame, so this time slot will be empty. At time t is equals to 7, A has a frame to send. At time t is equals to 8, B has frame to send. At time t is equals to 9, C has the frame to send. So each of the user has a frame to send. So the meaning is, even if the user does not have any data or any packet to send, the time will still be allocated to that user. So this is the idea behind the synchronous time division multiplexing. So this is synchronous time division multiplexing. So in this case, the sender and the user clocks have to be synchronized. So for example, when the frame 1 is received at the user's end, this frame A1 should go to first user. Since frame B is empty and frame C is there, it should go to the third user. Now when the second frame is received, the first frame should go to first user. Second frame should go to second user. Frame third is empty, so C will not receive anything. In the third frame, when the third frame is received, A3 should go to first user, B3 should go to second user, and C3 should go to third user. So this way the synchronization has to be done between the sender and the receivers. So multiplexer and demultiplexer must be synchronized. So for synchronizing, how does the synchronizing happens? Framing bits are used to provide synchronization. Some framing bits, it can be 0 or 1, they are used for the synchronization. So it can be like 1 0 1 0. So these are called as the framing bits, which are used for the synchronization between the frames. Now we talk about TDM of different data rates, but before we go ahead to the TDM of different data rates, since we have seen the drawback of the statistical synchronous time division multiplexing is that the source is still allocated the time even if the source does not have the data to send. But a better approach to the synchronous time division multiplexing is statistical division multiplexing. So what happens in statistical division multiplexing? The statistical multiplexer, it dynamically allocates the time slots on demand. So if a user has a frame to send, it will have a time slot in the frame, but if the user does not have a frame to send, it will not be allocated any time slot in the frame. This is statistical division multiplexing. So just like in synchronous time division multiplexing, the statistical multiplexer has number of input-output lines on one side and higher speed multiplexed line on the other side. Each input line has a buffer associated with it, and in case of statistical multiplexer, there are n input-output lines. So statistical division multiplexing is far better than synchronous division multiplexing. Now, how to deal with the different data rates? Because we know that different sources may have different data rates. Some sources may be faster, some sources may be smaller. We know that the transmitted data stream does not contain some headers and trailers, and also we know that all the data rate on the multiplexed line is not fixed, and some sources may be faster than another, and some sources may be slower. For example, in this diagram, what happens is I have three sources. Source A can transmit at 4 kilobits per second, source B can transmit at 8 kilobits per second, and C can transmit at 8 kilobits per second. So the total amount of bandwidth that we require is A plus B plus C. So that means it is 16 kilobits per second. Now, how does the multiplexer behaves when we have the sources having the different data rates? So I mean to say that some sources can be faster and some sources can be slower. So how does the multiplexer handle these type of situations or behaves in such cases? We will look into it. So in this case, what can happen? Now in this case, what can happen, because if we see that two sources, they have the same data speed. So one which has the higher data speed, it can be splitted up into it can be splitted up as the two sources having the same data speed as A and C. So A has 4 kilobits, B has 8 kilobits. Now B can be demultiplexed. This is demultiplexing. So it can be demultiplexed into two sources of 4 kilobits and 4 kilobits per second. C has 4 kilobits. So if you see over here, we have three sources. Multiplexer is taking data from the three sources, but in this case, multiplexer will take data from four sources. First frame from A, second frame from B, another third frame from B again, and a fourth frame from C. So we have divided B into two parts of 4 kilobits per second, 4 kilobits per second, so as to match the data rate of the A and C. So bandwidth remain the same. So 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 will make the 16 kilobits per second. So this is how it can be done to match the data rate of the other sources. We have other techniques also. More than one time slot can be assigned to the certain sources. So if you see over here, to the source B, 2 time slots are assigned to source B, since source B is faster than source A and source C. Alright, so you can see over here in the diagram. So it will send the frames A, B, C. So it will take the frames, first frame from A, then B, then C. Now A does not have any data to send, B has data to send. It will take the frame from B, C does not have any data to send. But in this case, what it will do, it will take the first frame from, it will be like A, B, then the third frame is taken from B, and the last frame is taken from C. So there will be 2 time slots for B. So multiple slot multiplexing, this is the reverse. Now if this is again just like the previous one. So the same thing, if you see over here, we have three sources which have a data speed of 25 kilobits per second and one source of 50 kilobits per second. So this 50 kilobits per second can be broken down into two data sources of 25 and 25 kilobits per second. So input with a 50 kbps data rate has 2 slots in each frame. So if you see, the first frame will be taken from 50, second frame again be taken from here, third frame will be taken from 25 kbps, fourth frame will be taken from 25, fifth frame will be taken from 25. So the total bandwidth required is 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25 makes it 125 kilobits per second. Multi-level multiplexing. Now multi-level multiplexing. Now if you have seen over here, here the source was faster. So we break down, we demultiplex. We break down into two sources of having same speed to match with the others. Now here if you see, all the sources are faster. 3 sources are faster. 2 sources have the speed of 20 kilobits per second. So what these 2 sources can be multiplexed to make one source of 40 kilobits per second. So data can be combined for these two sources. So it will make a speed of 40 kilobits per second, and then all the other sources 40. So now it will make these two sources combined will make 40 kilobits of bandwidth, and rest other will have a single time slot. This will have a combined time slot on the TDM frame. So the total bandwidth required is 40, 40, 40, 40, which is 160 kilobits per second. For example, if we have a TDM of different data rates, so same thing, if one has 5 kilobits per second and another one has 3 kilobits per second, so it has 8 kilobits per second. So how it will happen? It will take the first frame from A, then B, then A, so it has like 5 frames to send, and it has 3 frames to send. So it will take from first frame from A, then B, then 2 frames from A. So in one frame it can be, A can be given 2 time slots, A can again be given 2 time slots, because A has a faster data rate as compared to the B. So if you see over here, we have 5 frames to send. So this is how the frames will be made for this source. Now, frequency versus time division multiplexing. Let's talk about what are the difference. With frequency division multiplexing, different users use different parts of the frequency spectrum. So multiplexing is done based on the frequency of the signals. That means each user can send, all the users can send at the same time at the reduced rates. For example, roommates, right? They can do everything, all the things at the same time. Hardware is slightly more expensive and is less efficient use of spectrum. So all the users can transmit at the same time, but they use the different frequency bands. But with the time division multiplexing, different users send at different times. That means each user can use all the frequency band at a full speed, but he is given the time slot. For example, any time sharing condominium or any other example of time sharing. Drawback is that there is some transition time between the slots and it becomes more issue with the longer propagation times. But the solution is both this can be combined. Now we talk about the link control for the time division multiplexing. So in the time division multiplexing link control, we are going to talk about 2 things. First one is the flow control and second one is the error control. For the flow control, let me give you an example. For example, I have a sender, I have a receiver. Sender is sending data to the receiver. Now what happens? Let's assume that sender keeps on sending the data at a very fast rate, but receiver's equipment is very slow. Receiver cannot accept the data at such a fast rate. So what will happen? Some of the packets will be dropped, some of the data will be lost. We consider the another scenario, sender is sending data to the receiver. Now we assume that our sender is slower. So sender is sending one packet and then stops for a while because it's too slow, then it sends. But here receiver is very fast. Now here receiver has to wait for a longer time to receive the data from the sender. So this is actually called as flow control. Flow control is a mechanism to balance the transmission of data between the source and the receiver, so that no one is too fast or no one is too slow. Data rate of multiplexed line is fixed and the multiplexer and demultiplexer are designed to operate at that rate. So if one individual output lines at the receiver cannot receive data, others must carry on and transmission must continue because the remaining output lines are expected to receive the data. So channel can carry empty slots and frame as a whole will remain the same at the transmission rate. Next is error control. So these are the 2 things which we talk about link control in the TDM. Error control. Errors are detected and they are handled on the individual channel. So it will not request retransmission of the entire TDM frame, because as error occurs on one channel, solution is to apply error control on a particular channel only. So for example, there are 3 sources and the frame is from A, B and C. When A receives the frame, there is some error notice. So it's not like that the whole frame will be sent again. Rather, this A frame from the user A will be sent again. This is how error control is done. Alright, now we talk about framing. Since there are no flag or the synchronization characters in the TDM frames, we assured frame synchronization is needed. Why? Because it is very important to maintain the framing synchronization, because source and destination may not know from where the data is starting and where the data is ending. So data in all the channels may be lost. Alright, so how framing is done? Framing is done by adding some extra digits on the frame. One control bit is added on each frame, and it is an identifiable bit pattern on the control channel. So it can be like alternating frame 1. On the first frame, one extra digit 1 is added. On the second frame, extra digit 0 is added. On the third frame, 1 is added. On the fourth frame, 0, then 1, then 0. So like this, the bit pattern is done. So to synchronize, receivers compare incoming bits of frame position to the expected pattern. So if the pattern does not match successive bit positions, they are searched until the pattern persists over multiple frames. Once the framing synchronization is established, receiver continues to monitor that framing pattern. Now, if the receiver observes that the pattern has some change or the pattern breakdown, the receiver will again enter the framing search mode. So this is how the bit pattern is used by the receiver to search for the data, or to examine that what is the start of the frame and what is the end of the frame. Pulse stuffing. Pulse stuffing is a common solution. Why common solution? Because we know that outgoing data rate is higher than the sum of incoming rate. So outgoing data is higher than the incoming. So we need to stuff extra dummy bits or pulses into each incoming signal until it matches the local clock. So stuffed pulses inserted at fixed location in a frame, and they are removed by the demultiplexer. When bits are stuffed, they don't have any meaning actually. So the problem in the design of synchronous time division multiplexing is problem of synchronizing various data sources. There is variation in the clocks. There are issue of the data rates also. So this is an example of the pulse stuffing. For example, first data source has a speed of, or the data rate of 50 kilobits per second, second has a 50 kilobits per second, and third has 46 kilobits per second. Since their data rate does not match and they are not multiple of each other, so we will make a pulse stuffing. That means we will add 4 extra bits. It can be 1100, it can be any bits. So 4 extra bits will be added so as to make the data rate of this source also as the 50 kilobits per second, and the total bandwidth required will be 150 kilobits per second. So that was all about of this chapter. We talked about multiplexing, we talked about frequency division multiplexing, and we talked about time division multiplexing. In time division multiplexing, we talked about synchronous TDM, link control, framing, and pulse stuffing. So this completes the chapter number 8, and thank you so much.